10% of all the new cars sold in Iowa come from the Karl Auto Group. Our neighbors trust us to have the largest selection and the highest standards. To our current customers, thank you. And to our future customers, see for yourself why Karl drives Iowa.
Your dealer for life, it's the Karl way.
Experience the world's largest sports book at your fingertips.
I'm Derek Stevens. I'm a lifelong sports bettor and owner of Circus Sports. We built this platform for bettors that want high limits and total transparency.
Featuring high limits, player-friendly pricing, and exceptional live customer service when you need it.
Hi, how may I help you today?
Download your new bookie today and start betting like a pro.
Circus Sports.
Welcome into the Northwest Bank Studios for the Karl Auto Group pregame show here on Cyclone Fanatic. I am Jake Brend, joined by Jackson Pence. Pence, you look like you're dressed to go to the game, don't you?
I am. I'll be there. Senior day.
That's right. That's right. Couldn't miss it. Taman Lipsey's final game at Hilton Coliseum. Joshua Jefferson, Nate Heisey, Dominic Nelson, Eric Mulder all also playing their final game at the Mecca. We're recording this before we leave. It's about 10:15 or so a.m. The reason we're doing this early is, one, Pence is going to the game, so that makes it nice to be able to get him in here before he takes off to Ames. And two, it is senior day, which is a good time to remind you to be in your seats by 12:45. That's when the senior day festivities will take place. We always start this show around 12:30, so it can go up to the minute, and as you guys know, I'm the video guy, and I got to be out there for that. So we're just going to get this out of the way before we both head up to Ames. We appreciate you for joining us because it's 12:30 for you guys, and it's a good game today. Iowa State, Arizona State, the Sun Devils coming in off of a win over Kansas. It's all brought to you by Karl Auto Group and Karl Chevrolet. They're not only the sponsor for all of our pre- and post-game coverage throughout the regular season, they're hopping on for the postseason. And I know that's not a surprise to you because Karl Auto is a great partner of Cyclone Fanatic. They're a great partner of the Iowa community, and they're the #1 dealership in the world. They live up to their name. Go give them a check at your local Karl Auto Group. All right, Pence, where do we start today? Do we start talking about the seniors? Do we talk about the game? Where do you want to go with this?
I think you probably have to start with the senior day. It's just going to be one of those days. It's going to be really emotional. Hilton Coliseum. You know, I remember the George Niang, the Monte Moore senior days, but you know, and those guys were awesome players, but they didn't really have the hometown feel that you have with like a Fred Hoiberg or a Taman Lipsey. And it's one of those deals where, you know, Taman grew up wanting to be a Cyclone his whole life, and today he's going to play his last game ever at Hilton Coliseum. And it just you just think about that, and 4 years for him has just flown by. It feels like just yesterday we were watching him play #1 North Carolina out in Portland, Oregon, and now he's getting ready to play his final game. It's just crazy to see how the time has gone. But it's just one of those deals where he has had such a great career at Iowa State, and he's one of the winningest players in school history. He's got the most steals in school history. There's not a lot of things that you can say that Taman Lipsey hasn't done in a Cyclone uniform, and he's laid it out there all on the line, including injuries and everything. And Iowa State having Taman Lipsey, especially with Otzelberger coming in as having that commitment, one of the first ones of Otzelberger's tenure at Iowa State, is just Taman's had a great career, and hats off to him because he's an all-time Cyclone.
Yeah, and he really encapsulates the entire Otzelberger era because you can point flaws in Lipsey's games, and he's certainly become a more complete player as a senior than he was as a freshman, but he made 5 threes as a freshman and shot 20%. He dealt with injuries all of last year and wasn't quite the same player. This year, he's had a couple of games where he maybe didn't step up in the way that he would like to, but if there's one thing about Taman Lipsey, you never once for a second doubted his determination, his hustle, his heart, and that's what makes him one of the all-time Cyclones. He, just like a Melvin Ejim, a George Niang, he'll be able to go into the Hall of Fame one day and confidently say that I never once left it out there. Like, I guess, no, that's not the right way to put it. I never once didn't leave it completely out there. And that is going to be quite the applause today, and let's hope it comes in a win.
That's right, and nobody remembers. Everybody remembers their senior night, especially if it ends in a win too. So, and we haven't talked about guys like Joshua Jefferson, Nate Heisey. Those two guys, first off, have played a lot of minutes the last couple of years for Iowa State. And you think about Joshua Jefferson, who's probably one of the most special players Iowa State's had in a really long time in terms of skill and what he can do with the basketball and on defense as well. And, he's the first Cyclone ever with 2 triple-doubles in a season. No one else has ever done that. And you think about all the great players that Iowa State's had over the course of the basketball, their whole careers. And Jefferson is a special player, and it hasn't been playing up to his standards as late. But you have March coming up, and he knows, and it's one of those deals where he knows what he needs to do, and it's been special to watch him grow, especially when you saw him at the beginning of last year. He kind of really came onto the scene out in Maui when he really started playing against Auburn and Dayton and all those teams. But to see where he is today, he's put himself in a great position to be in the NBA next year. Can't say enough great things about Joshua Jefferson. The same with Nate Heisey. That guy is a warrior. One of those deals where he really hasn't got a whole lot of starting time other than with a few injuries last year he was able to step in. But those two guys especially have just been great Cyclones, and hats off to them, because when you come in as a transfer, as your junior transfer, sometimes you're just trying to find your role, and those guys have found it. And kudos to them for staying for 2 years. They're beloved Cyclones as well, and can't wait to see them on senior day too.
Yeah, TJ Otzelberger made a really good point in his pre-Arizona State press availability on Thursday, and he talked so much about Lipsy and how it was a perfect marriage, because not only had TJ not coached a game yet, the program was just 0-19. It was not in a good spot, and they didn't have much to offer Lipsy other than a vision of what they hoped this would become, and it's certainly become that. And Lipsy didn't have as much to offer at that point as he did maybe when he was a freshman in high school, because he dealt some of those injuries, and he wasn't the same prospect that he was before. So it was almost putting 2 broken puzzle pieces together, and it's worked out in the best way possible. That was not the case at all for Joshua Jefferson and Nate Heisey. They knew exactly what they were getting themselves into. Iowa State had established an identity for 3 years, and I commend them for stepping into that and being really, really great Otzelberger players under that. So it'll be a cool celebration for all involved. But like you said, it's very important to make sure that this senior day is not forgotten in a loss. And I think it's a good opportunity for Iowa State against an Arizona State team who's playing better. Like they've won some Big 12 games, which is, I know they had a rough non-conference schedule, but they've beaten Kansas. They've beaten Texas Tech. Mo Odom can fill it up. They can score a lot of points. The good news for Iowa State is they haven't been great on the road. In fact, they've been really, really poor on the road.
Yeah, and you talk about that. They've won 4 of their last 6. All those 4 wins have come at home. Their 2 losses on the road at Baylor and TCU, who are playing some really good basketball right now. But you said it, Mo Odom is a great player, and we saw him really come on the scene this year at Maui when he just absolutely filled it up in Maui this offseason. He got them to the championship game, I believe, too. So, and we know he can fill it up. And then one of the keys to this game is it's going to be, how does Iowa State guard Masamba Diop? He's one of those players where he can step out and shoot the 3, but he can also bang inside and shoot the mid-range shot as well. And I'm assuming Blake Buchanan will have that assignment as Diop plays the center for them. But it'll be one of those deals where, how does Iowa State want to guard him? Do they send the double trap at him, which is probably what they will do, and try to force the turnovers. And this is a team in Arizona State that turns the ball over about 11 times a game. So there's going to be opportunities for Iowa State to get back to that kind of defense that they've wanted to play. And they showed it in that Arizona game. For 80, 85, 90% of that game, they were really good on the defensive end. And, they can just keep carrying that over to today. They could have some good success.
Yeah, Arizona State is 1-7 on the road this season in Big 12 play. Their lone road win coming at Utah. To me, this comes down to Iowa State trying to find their confidence. Can they get their swagger back? Not that beating Arizona State isn't going to fix what happened against Texas Tech at home. It's not going to fix what happened at BYU or at Utah. It probably won't even affect your seeding in one way at all. But can you get your guys feeling good again before Kansas City? And I'm specifically talking about Joshua Jefferson, Milan Momcilovic, Nate Heise. Can they find confidence in their strokes? I think at this point, it's just probably reasonable to not expect that Torrey is going to be able to find it from beyond the arc. And that's okay. And we've seen his minutes decrease. We've seen Bateman elevate. It's March. It's time for Tamin Lipsey as a senior to probably take more of those point guard duties overall. But in order to help this offense, Momcilovic, Heise, Jefferson have to get going again. And what better way to do that than in Hilton Coliseum for the final time this year? Leave the fans happy before they head on down I-35 to Kansas City.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those mindset things too. Is you want to have some sort of confidence when you go down to Kansas City, because when you get down there, you've seen all those great teams throughout the season, and you know what they can bring at night in, night out too. So, and the weird part about this is there's a chance Iowa State could play Arizona State back-to-back games too. So that's another weird part about this. But you said it. They just need to get some confidence. And when you talk about Milan Momcilovic, I've heard you guys talk, you Brent and C-Dub have talked about, how physical teams are being with him. I just want to see if Iowa State can find a way to get him more open shots, and maybe that's, running certain plays for him. They run a really nice play where Buchanan's at the top of the screen and Momcilovic will just run right behind him. After he sets a screen, it'll be a top of the key three. They've done that a lot throughout Momcilovic's career, and it's ended up in a three at the top of the key most often times. But they're just going to have to find some ways to get him shots. And then for Joshua Jefferson, I think what you want to see from him is he is at his best when he's distributing the ball first, not trying to make a score in the middle of the lane. If he gets it in the post, one of his best is the skip pass with one arm over to the top to the corner, whether that's Heise or sometimes Torres in the corner. He just needs to get back to playmaking, and I haven't looked at the stats, and I can do that when we're done here, but when Jefferson's playing his best, he usually is close to that 7 or 8 assist mark, and that's when Iowa State's offense is really humming, and they're going to have to do that today because this Arizona State team's playing well, and you just never know in the month of March.
Yeah, some of my Jefferson thing that's frustrating with the narrative is you look at Monday, you're shooting a ton of threes and you're not making a ton. What's the answer? Well, if it's not working, stop doing it. Stop shooting threes. Okay, so Jefferson goes inside, tries to finish against a really tough interior defense, and doesn't have a lot of success. He has one of the worst games of his career. To me, this Jefferson thing comes down to a reflection of the team. Like, Jefferson is not necessarily being that much more selfish. Sure, he's probably being a little more selfish than he was 2 months ago, but a lot of that is, how many times can you kick to a wide open shooter and have them miss? Do you continue to pass to the wide open shooter? And for me, Jefferson has taken too much of a burden personally on himself and also from the fan base to try and take over these games when things aren't working. And that's where it comes down to getting Momcilovic easier looks. And to me, that feels like more of a Milan thing than anything. It seems to be like, just because a guy's physical with you 2 or 3 straight possessions, don't let him be physical with you the 4th. You beat them to the punch. And whether that's off the dribble, whether it's getting a back cut, whether it is just hunting that transition 3, whatever it is, a lot of this comes down to Momcilovic finding a way to get himself 12 or 15 shots. Because you look in the NBA, people are really physical with Kevin Durant too. And people are always really physical with the best shooter on the floor. They find ways to get themselves shots. So that's the biggest key for me is Milan finding ways to get himself in rhythm and maybe not relying on others to do it either.
Yeah, and I think one of those things that Milan has that helps him out a lot is just his size. Like, he's able to shoot over the top of most defenders. Now, Arizona's a little bit different because Karchenkov is very similar in body style, maybe just a little bit stronger than Milan. But when you go back, Milan, he's just not getting the kind of shots that we saw him get towards the middle and beginning of the Big 12 season, and that's to be expected when you have all these great coaches in this league that are great scouters. And Momcilovic, he had 20 points against Texas Tech, but you look before that, he had 8 against Houston, he had 5 at BYU, and then he had 14 at Utah where he broke the 3-point record. But those two games where he had under 10, and then you count Arizona where he had 5. He's only getting 8 or 9 shots in those games, and those are the teams that are going to play really physical with you because those teams have the guys that they can do that with. If Momcilovic can just find, whether it's maybe back cutting, he doesn't always have to just get open for 3 too. We've seen him over the course of his career get into the middle of the lane and make those floater type shots. It doesn't have to just be 3-point shooting, but any way that he can help just get this offense keep moving, it's just going to be. It's not going to just help him, but it'll help the whole offense in general.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, and who has been guarding Momcilovic. Not every team has an A.J. Dubance, not every team has a Korchenkov. Like, those guys are some of the best perimeter defenders in the country, and not only are they the best perimeter defenders in the country, they have the size and the length to match up with Momcilovic. The good news for Milan, not every team has that. I would say most teams don't. So if we are just looking at his worst games, those have mostly come against those type of teams. I can't imagine Arizona State has a guy that will match up that well with him today. So it's on Momcilovic to go out there, shoot 10 times, see if he can make 6 threes, and get himself in a groove heading into Kansas City next week.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a big game. We talked about it after the Arizona game. Iowa State needs to get something going. Whether they just need to win by any means, and then you need to feel good going down to Kansas City because that's the start of your one and done. And if you're not playing your best in March, it could be an early exit, and not just the Big 12 tournament, but the NCAA tournament as well. What
do you think happens today?
I think Iowa State. It's the spread's 15.5. I think that's the last time that I saw it was 15.5. Arizona State's playing a lot better. I think it's going to be around. I think it'll be over 10. I think it's in that 12 to 13 range. Iowa State pulls away late in the second half to kind of put that one away.
Yeah, senior day is always emotional. It's been a while since Iowa State's played a not so great team on senior day. Probably that Oklahoma State game.
Yep.
TJ's first year. I guess they lost to West Virginia. TJ's second year as well. So it hasn't been great on senior day for Otzelberger. What better way to reverse that trend than today against Arizona State? I think the Cyclones will handle them. 15.5 points is a lot, though. I could see this game being somewhat tight going into halftime, like a 7 or 8 point game before Iowa State pulls away late. Either way, it's going to be an emotional day at Hilton Coliseum. Be sure to join us right here after the game. Full disclosure, I will be doing the post-game show. I don't know what senior day activities will be taking place after, if any. So it'll just be as soon as possible. I'm not going to say as soon as the buzzer sounds, but we'll get this post-game show live and rolling very quickly after the game before I head to the post-game press conference. For Jackson Pence and Jake Brend, this has been Cyclone Fanatic Pregame here in the Northwest Bank Studios.